The theme for International Women's Day this year is Choose to Challenge. And it's got us all thinking about what does it really take for someone to choose to challenge? What are they challenging and how do they make that choice? And it's had us dig into courage because often to choose to challenge, you need to actually be courageous and be brave first. So today we're going to be exploring that from those angles, and we invite you to explore along with us, thinking about what this means for you and how you might choose to challenge as you go along your day.
What helps me to choose to challenge is that I feel supported by others. And for me, both challenge and support go hand in hand and help me to be more courageous, to feel more confident in myself. And that's an ongoing journey. So some days feeling more confident and able to challenge and be more courageous, and other days needing to lie low, but also being encouraged and thinking about courage and being encouraged by others through their support, through both of your support as well.
Lovely, Annie. And I think, I was thinking about this last week, and the idea of courage. We think of, gallantry, bravery, valor. It sort of it can strike at these really big themes of massive actions, once in a lifetime activities. But actually, for me, courage is the micro as well as the macro. It's those tiny daily practices of noticing, and then where we're able to and where we feel strong and safe to do so, to be able to say to somebody, hey, that doesn't sit quite right with me. Can we have a conversation about it? And not feeling that you have to go into battle, but just feeling able to have a good sense of your own values and beliefs and be able to safely challenge them in a way. So really having the courage to take those micro actions on a daily basis has really been in my mind, and certainly around Women's Day today, it's really ticking away in there.
It's really important to make that distinction, I think, isn't it, as well? And I like, that phrase used about sometimes it feels like we have to go into battle, where actually challenge can show up in different ways. It doesn't have to be a battle. It might be asking a question, it might be a tricky question, and it might be a question that perhaps has someone else feeling comfortable about something they've said. But that's part of the challenge, part of what we're noticing. So maybe it is sometimes about getting curious rather than judgmental or defensive. I wonder if we all practice bringing our curiosity more to each other, to ourselves, asking questions. What do you really mean by that? Where does that viewpoint come from? What's behind your thinking there? Might open up a conversation that actually brings some of the things that we want to challenge and that we need to challenge more to the forefront, but doing it through a lens of curiosity rather than confrontation or challenge, adversity, battle.
I like that, Lucy. I think that sits well with the encouraging each other to think more deeply, to bring our different thoughts and to make it part of the conversation that is encouraging of everybody to look at things more closely, more deeply. I've been thinking a lot about the language that we use and thinking about my own language, which I've always been curious about, but being really conscious of the language that I use. And especially today on International Women's Day as well, thinking about gender equality and inclusive dialogue and diversity in all its differences.
It reminds me, Annie, of a conversation you and I were having last week. And it's something I said has made me very reflective and curious about my own language and had me thinking about challenging myself. And if you remember, I was encouraging you just to believe in yourself and to represent yourself in a tricky situation. And what I actually found myself saying in a reminder to stand tall and stand firm and hold your own was tits and teeth. And almost as I said the words, I couldn't really believe I was saying them. And I was very glad that I was with you and that you know me and, what I stand for in terms of inclusivity and diversity. And it's really had me interrogate where that came from. Why did I say that in that moment? And it had me realize that at a subconscious level, it's been kind of absorbed into my psyche around what you need to do to stand up for yourself. You need to almost show your physical attributes as a woman in a challenging environment. And yet that's not what I meant at all. And in fact, what I meant was, Brené Brown says it in a lot more eloquently way, is strong back, soft heart, open heart. And that's what I really meant as an encouragement to you to stand up in your own glory and wisdom and power and confidence. And yet even myself used physical attributes as an encouragement for that. So this is about challenging ourselves, not just challenging others, and understanding how perhaps even as advocates of inclusivity and diversity, sometimes we can play into the issues and the challenges ourselves.
It's a lovely noticing that, Lucy. I'm thinking about courage. Courage is something just about either looking in the mirror or gently holding the mirror for others. I think the diversity and equality space, we've got really entrenched known behaviours, established behaviours, little tropes that are, they roll off the tongue for a reason. But we don't. They're degrading in their own way, and trying to just help. Hey, I noticed you say that. Did you mean that? Because I don't get that from you quite a lot of the time. I get somebody completely different. Oh, wow, yeah, I'd never thought about it that way. I mentioned to you both earlier, International Women's Day, fabulous. Let's celebrate women however they define themselves. If you define yourself as a woman, let's celebrate that. Let's have the courage to be inclusive, and really push that forward. And I think, we don't have to have people losing to have us all winning. And that tribalism, I think, can cause us some challenges sometimes, but really having the courage just to bring the mirror up a little bit and go, who am I seeing? Is it who I want to see? Is it who you want to see? And challenging softly. I like the strong back, soft heart. I think that's right. It doesn't have to be adversarial. It can be done in a kind and compassionate way, but we all grew through it. We all grow.
There's an invitation there, isn't there, I think, in everything we're saying around showing up as yourself, whoever that may be, whoever you may identify as, whatever you bring to the party. And it's something that we're all very passionate about in the work that we do, in terms of inviting people to come as they are, to bring their best, to maximise what they have, to truly step into their potential. And of course, it takes safety to be able to do that. So there's a challenge here perhaps for organisations to consciously think about how they're creating more safety for everybody at work. Today's the spotlight is on women, but this is for everybody actually, and it's crucial at the moment as we are redefining work. There's lots of talk about the future of work, the environment we're going to work in, the cultures we're going to create, and there's a recognition that there's an opportunity to recreate here, given the past year that we've all been through, the interruption and disruption through COVID. So in terms of kind of creating that safety, what is it that we can all do to create that safety? Sometimes it's having the courage to speak up for ourselves or for others. Sometimes it's easier to do it for others when we see them being misrepresented or discriminated against. But I wonder how we can all start to create that safety for ourselves and for others as we step forward into this.
I think that's very important. And I think in terms of creating cultures in which people feel able to be themselves and be their best selves and be able to do their best work, the intentionality around asking ourselves and each other, what are we doing to create a safe environment? And thinking about the language that we use that is part of creating and recreating an environment, particularly at a time and after a period of time of people feeling more anxious than usual because of the pandemic, and where differences between people have been highlighted, between those people who perhaps are living with others and people living on their own, people having work, people not having work, and the multitude of differences. How do we make a safe environment in which people are welcomed in? I think the intentionality around that is going to be really, really important, having that as part of our navigation.
I love that idea, the sort of compass of courage. It's using that as our touchstone to come back to, what would we want our society to be if the aliens landed tomorrow? What would they see? Would they see a collaborative, compassionate, inclusive space, or would they see something different? And what do we aspire to? To really having that courage to make the safety for all of us to be recognised and celebrated for who we are. I think is lovely, and it's a lovely sentiment. I think one that we can all support and deliver in different ways. And I guess maybe just thinking about that from our perspective, what would be the tools, the tips, perhaps, that we might offer to our listeners this week and beyond to help them unlock their courage and address maybe some of the issues they see in their day-to-day?
There's something around getting clear for yourself on what you believe in and what you stand for. So your own values and beliefs. Is it fairness? Is it honesty? Is it compassion? Is it curiosity? What is it for you that you want to bring to the world at work and otherwise, and that you want to encourage others to bring? And getting clear just on a couple of key values, attributes, behaviours that are important to you. And you can start to dig into your own courage, because it is important to you, because it does matter to you, and start to show up more with those on show as it is. Because some of this is about the courage to be visible, the courage to really be seen for what you believe in and what you have to offer. And again, Brené Brown is awesome in this space when she talks about vulnerability. And she said, if it sounds like truth and feels like courage, you're in the right space. And that's about being brave enough, having the courage to be vulnerable enough to show up as you, what you truly have to offer, to be seen with your truth.
Lovely. Annie, what about you? What sage wisdom do you have for us?
I would encourage supporting others in their challenging of you and each other. So really thinking about challenging and supporting each other to challenge, and that being the way to being more courageous. And you, Nat?
I think for me, I think it's being an ally, and if you're not sure, ask, have a conversation. We're never more uncertain about somebody when we haven't had a conversation with them. We haven't taken the time to find out about them, who they are, not what they're labelled as. And having the courage to challenge ourselves on a daily basis, if you're able to, but certainly on a regular basis, to have conversations with people that are not what you look at in the mirror. Just who knows what you might find out. But what you'll definitely do is make a connection with somebody who is different to you, and you will then have a little bit of fuel in your tank to help you see them as you and not see them as other. And I think, when we do that, we've got much greater ability to be courageous in our allyship. So yeah, that would be my encouragement.
That's a really good reminder, Nat, that actually this is about connecting. And funnily enough, it's a theme that we keep coming back to time and time again in our work, because this is about human connection inside of our humanness, as people underneath all of our labels, and offering that connection and seeking out that connection with some care and curiosity and courage. It's actually, it's all of the C's, isn't it? It's not, one's not enough in this instance. Actually, it's really drawing on them all to create a meaningful connection.